Welcome to another episode of the Catch Your Breath podcast. I am so glad that you have found this place. And if you are brand new, this episode is made just for you because it's going to explain the foundation of the Catch Your Breath podcast. And if you have been here before, you probably will hear some things that you didn't know. But before we do anything else, I want to do what we always do here. I want to check in with you. Has anyone asked you today how you're really doing? And not the quick, I'm fine, just busy kind of answer, but really asked you, has anyone stopped and said, how are you? Well, if not, I'm asking you right now, how are you doing, friend? Just take a second. How has your week been? Before we go anywhere, before we start any conversations, let's do this together. Let's actually just take a moment to catch our breath right now. So you're going to breathe in slowly, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want you to stay in that feeling for just a moment because that breath that you just took, I want to tell you about a season in my life that it really felt almost impossible to do. The days were so heavy. They were so back to back. And I just wasn't checking in with myself at all. I truly wasn't. And I felt like there were people checking in on me. But the truth of the matter is, I couldn't be honest with them. And that is more so what this episode is about. The season where I did have those people checking in on me, but I really couldn't tell them. And then when I didn't feel like I had anybody that cared, nobody was checking to see how I was doing. And since you're new here, I want to tell you a little bit of that story. I want to be honest with you because truly that's what this space is built on. And I want you to know that I can be honest so that you can be honest. There was a season that for me was early in homeschooling and I was struggling. And the truth of the matter is I loved homeschooling. Like I love teaching, I love education, I love like playing all these games and doing all the things. And so I was enjoying like that aspect of it, but I was really struggling. And some of it was physical because I was dealing with undiagnosed fibromyalgia and then finally getting to that. And some days just getting through life felt like an accomplishment. But the good thing during that season, and I praise God for this, is that I had community around me in that season. I had people that were checking in on me when I did not realize that I needed people to check in on me. And honestly, that is the only thing that got me through that season. And I know that I am not delusional about that. And I hope that those people that were with me during that season know how I feel. I've tried to tell them, but I hope I've done a good enough job of explaining that to them. And if I haven't, I pray that God will give me the opportunity. He'll bring it to my mind and I'll reach out to them again. If you're listening and you were there for me during that season, thank you. If I've not said it before, I hope I have. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know though that in the midst of that season, that being honest about everything that I was carrying and having people around me who could hold it with me was what was the only thing that kept me together. But then we moved and I left that community behind. And for me, that's when things got harder in a different way because now I didn't have the words for what I was feeling. Because before I could really point to the physical aspect of it and say like, okay, I am in pain 24/7 and that's why it's hard. And even though still had pain, I didn't have it at that same place. And there's something about not knowing why you're in so much pain that is harder than understanding, okay, this is why you're in pain and you know what to do about it. And you're able to, maybe get medication, even as you're praying through it, maybe change your eating habit, like all of that stuff. But now in this season, when things were hard, I didn't really have the words for what I didn't have the words for what I was feeling. Before, I could point to something physical and say, "Okay, that's why it's hard." But in this new season, it was more like the emotional weight of everything. There were the doubts, there were the questions, there were the insecurities, there were the days where I just didn't know what to do, and I didn't know why. I just couldn't figure it out. And I felt so unbelievably guilty about that because for me, nothing was visibly wrong. And so what was my excuse? What was the reason? I had the medication. I was feeling a lot better in my body. So I started looking for help again. And I didn't have community at that time. So I found what I found before, a lot of schedule things about how do you change your schedule, about the curriculum pieces, how you can change that, about different planning systems. And they were practical things and good things, but nobody was sitting with me in the hard. And I couldn't even articulate. Nobody was saying that the fact that it feels hard doesn't mean that something is wrong with me. It might just mean which is what I believe right now, that it's just hard. And I felt like I needed someone to say that because what I really wanted to hear was, and I think this matters whether you have fibromyalgia or you have something completely different or you're just completely healthy. Whether you're going through something that's really, really big, like grief or a move or a financial stress or anything like that, or whether you feel like life is relatively stable and it's just, heavy on some days. I started to recognize and accept that hard days didn't always need a reason. And sometimes we're just humans dealing with humans. We're just moms and the teaching parent and the disciplinarian and the chauffeur and the caregiver all at the same time. And some days that is just a lot. The doubt, the fear, am I doing enough? The days where you're just feeling like the motivation to keep on doing this just isn't there. And that's not a crisis. That's really the ebb and the flow of real life, of homeschooling. And that's what we talk about here. And what I eventually learned. And truly what pulled me out of that season, and it pulled me out of that season, but it does not mean that I do not have hard days. But what it came down for me as I was really searching and focusing and looking and seeking and being intentional and asking and praying and all of the things is I recognized that I needed more margin in my life. I needed more simplicity in my curriculum, in my schedule, in the food that I was cooking. I needed flexibility because if you have, and I am really great about systems, but if you have rigid systems, a lot of times those type of things can break you, and that's what it was doing, trying to keep up with all of those systems. And most importantly, I needed support. I need intentional, cultivated, protected community. And that is kind of the biggest thing for me is that people who were my people, I needed to search for them. I can't do this alone. I couldn't do this alone, and none of us can. And I didn't have a name for it, truly, y'all. I just knew as I was searching and writing, and I like to write down things a lot. I like to talk to myself. Yes, I talk to myself. I like to try to determine what is going on with me. What do I need? I'm an overthinker, as some would say, but I like to have answers. I do. And if something is happening or not happening or affecting me, I need to know why. And so I didn't have a name for what I was experiencing, what I was writing, what were the things that I needed to change. But now I know for me, it's the breathable framework. And it is absolutely the backbone of everything that I do here. So we're going to go deep on every single piece of it. But truly, it starts right here with this breath that we just took, with knowing that you're not alone. And truly, that is why this podcast exists. Because after going through all of that, after trying to figure out and ask the question, what's wrong with me? Because sometimes, for me at least, that's where I internalize it. what's wrong with me? And continually asking, what's wrong with me? And I remember my mom, when I would say that to her, would say, nothing's wrong with you. Why does something have to be wrong with you? Don't claim that. Don't hold that. But I just didn't have an answer. I couldn't figure out what it was. And so I had to keep on asking the question. I had to keep on searching. I had to keep on looking for what is going on. And as I was doing that and looking at what were the things that I just did not love about what was happening right now, what were the things what was causing me to feel overwhelmed, what was sucking all the joy out of me, what was just making me kind of miserable. I looked at those things, got all that down, and then I was like, what do I need? And one of the things I knew was like, your schedule is just too packed. You got too much stuff going on. I need some margin. And I need to be comfortable not filling in the margin with more things. I just need to be okay with that. I need to be okay with having some flexibility and not having to have everything look a specific way. I had to be honest with myself to say, okay, you're not the type of person that needs to have a schedule that goes from 8 to 8:20 and 8:21 to 8:52. And there is nothing wrong if that's who you are. Still, you can be that person and still make room for flexibility. But also we got to know who we are and say, okay, that may work for somebody else, but that's not going to work for me. And that understanding for me, the framework, determining like what were the things I needed, and then getting to that place to say, how do I want to live my life? Breathable just kept coming. Like, because anytime any stress or anything would come up for me, I would say, just breathe. I tell my kids that, I tell my clients that. Way before I had clients, it's like, okay, let's just breathe. Let's just take a moment. After I learned about like getting that oxygen to the brain, I was like, you got to focus on the breath. You got to breathe. We can even get biblical with that and how Jesus is the bread of life, but also the breath. And just all of those things just helped me to write that down and say, okay, this is what I need. This is what my life is. This is what's happening right now. This is what's missing. This is what I need. And then most importantly for me was, okay, how do you get there? How do you become intentional about living this type of life? And for me, I want a breathable life, because I can tell you over and over and over and over again to let's take a moment to catch your breath. And I think it's important, but it's harder to catch your breath if you don't build a life that's breathable, that allows you to have the room and the space and all of those things to do it. And so that's what we're doing here. That's why we're here. That is why I'm so passionate about it, because I know that it has worked for me. And as I have shared it with other people, no matter what was the thing that they needed in that area, one of those 4 things, we're able to take that and say, okay, let's make sure that you have that. It has changed my life. So I've decided I want a breathable life. I want a breathable homeschool. I want a breathable business. Like, that's it in a nutshell. And yes, I get passionate about this because truly it has transformed my life. And when I feel myself moving back into overwhelm, moving back into losing my joy, I can look at one of those things and say, okay, what would you need to go back to? Do you have too many things going on at the same time? Do you have too many rigid systems? Do you have too many things that you're trying to do that make them complex? Do you have community? Have you spent time with your community? So if any of that sounds familiar to you, and if you heard something in my story that made you think, okay, that's me, then I want you to know you are exactly who I made this for. And I truly mean that. This podcast is for the mom who is brand new to homeschooling and already having days where she wonders what she got herself into. But it's also for the mom who is a few years in and just quietly hit a wall. And then it's for you, veteran mom, who has been doing this for years and loves it. And you are still running on empty. And you're wondering, can I keep going to the finish line? I want to be your encourager. I want to be your cheerleader. Because if you are a mom who has been having hard days and you're trying to carry the guilt, you have that guilt about those hard days, because somewhere along the way, you got the message that a hard day means that you're doing something wrong. This is the podcast for you. This is the place for you. This is the community I'm building. Please know that your homeschool does not have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to check anyone else's boxes. It doesn't have to follow anyone else's method. It doesn't have to look anything like what you see online. It doesn't have to be Pinterest perfect. It just has to be yours. It has to be what God has called you to do for the children that He has given you stewardship over. Beautifully, faithfully, and perfectly imperfect. and completely yours. And you don't have to figure it out alone. That's the thing. That's the other piece. The devil wants us to believe that we are supposed to do this on ourselves, that we need to, what does they put on the bootstraps and go on out there and fight the good fight and do it. And that's not the truth. And I want to be upfront with you because I think you deserve to know what you're walking into here, especially if you're brand new. And if you've been listening for a little while, you're not really sure what this is about because you're waiting to hear more information about how to make the perfect schedule and how to pick the perfect curriculum and how to ensure that you do all these different things. You're going to find some of that here. And if you look in past episodes, you definitely will find it. So you'll find some curriculum reviews. You might find lesson planning templates or those type of things in different places. But if you're looking for someone to tell you exactly how to structure your specific homeschool day and do your specific thing that's unique to you, there are truly, and I have had to embrace that and praise God for that and sit in that and say, okay, God, there are amazing podcasts and resources for that. And I will cheer you on to find them. But what I realize, and I praise God for that, is that's not what we do here. What we do here is deal with what's happening on the inside, truly, so that you can show up for all that on the outside. My desire is for us to work on the heart of the homeschool mom, you, and not just the schedule and not just the curriculum. And we want to do that without guilt, without shame, and without a single you should. You know how I feel about you should if you listen to this any amount of time. So what does that actually look like week to week? Well, here's what you can expect when you stay here and when you come back. Every week, I want to show up with a new episode for you. And my desire is to make it short enough to fit into your real life, whether that's in your car or on a walk, or you're hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes of peace, or you know what I mean, in the closet. And sometimes we will get to go practical, and sometimes we go deep. Sometimes we just sit together in something hard and we name it out loud. And hopefully, sometimes we just laugh at the real and raw goodness of homeschooling. But it's always personal. It's always going to be rooted in a biblical foundation. And I'm not a theologist. I don't have all of that. But I know what the Bible means for me. And I know how it's blessed me. And I know that I can find the guidance and the encouragement and all those things there. I want you to feel that in this. And I want this to also be a safe place for you. And every episode ends with one thing. And I didn't do that in the beginning, but when I came back, I realized as we're talking about all the different things, I want you to leave with one small doable thing that you can take with you. Not a full to-do list, just one thing. If you only did this one thing, then this is the one thing you could do. Now, you can choose to do as many as you want, but if you only did this one thing, if you only have capacity for one thing, then that's it. One thing, one moment at a time. My clients know that we talk about our weekly wins, and we usually push for 3. We push for 3 weekly wins. But when we talk about homework and task and that, no matter what we've said, we always end with what's the one thing? What's the one thing you can do? And here's what you will never feel when you leave an episode. You won't feel shame. You won't feel guilt. And you should not ever leave feeling like you should be doing more. And that's a promise for me because I know I do not want to feel like that. Who needs more guilt in their life? Listen, if you're like me, you give yourself enough guilt to carry you forever. So I don't want to be that person that's giving you that. So that's what it is. That's who I am. And that's why I show up every single week. And I'm going to tell you the truth of the truth. Life is lifing all the time for me. And so I praise God for the opportunity to come and sit and talk with you, be in my closet to encourage you, to cheer you on, to pray with you, all of that. But I have made a promise to myself and to him that I will be real with this, that it won't be polished, it won't be perfect, it will be Inga. And sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I say things that I'm like, where'd that word come from? I always want to be authentically me for you. So if you've been around since the beginning, I want to tell you welcome back. Thank you. This show has grown so much, and honestly, so have I since I started it. And I praise God for that. I'm so thankful for that. And if you're brand new, I am so glad something brought you here today. Maybe you were searching. Maybe a friend sent this to you. Maybe God just put this in front of you at exactly the right moment that you needed. But whatever the reason is, you're here right now, and this is your place. No shame, no guilt, no should, just a friend, a cheerleader, an encourager, a breath, and a reminder that you were made for this. If God has called you to it, He has made you for it, and you are so not alone. So, what is your one thing for today? Even in this, and I call it my OTFT. What's your one thing for today? If this resonates with you, if you think this is the right place for you, would you hit follow or subscribe right now so that the next time a hard day comes, you already know where to go? And connect with me on Instagram. I have not posted in a little while. I really have been protecting my peace, taking care of myself, and saying, all right, what do I need to do? And so I've not showed up on social media as much as I need to, but I'm asking God how He wants me to do it and then being obedient to that. So you can find me on Instagram. You can email me always at hello@ingamasick.com, and I will definitely reach out to you no matter what. You can find me on Facebook, and all the stuff will be in the show notes. But I just want you to know that you are not alone. If you have questions, if you have topics that you want me to discuss here on the podcast, let's do this together. Thank you for listening to my story, for me going on and on and on to share with you. But I hope that you know you found your place. And friend, it's time to catch your breath. Till next time.